export market in some capacity. Nobody really knows what that value chain is going to look like yet. There's a lot of companies you can play there, different regions, different technologies, hydrogen vectors, etc. That is still taking shape, and it's going to take a little while. But certainly Fortescue sees itself being somewhere in that value chain. But as far as Fortescue goes, we're known primarily as an iron ore company. I think over the last 6 months in Australia, we're trying to broaden our brand awareness to include hydrogen as well. Certainly in our, the countries in which we sell our products, we're known primarily as an iron ore company. So we've got a lot of work to do to build credibility in the space around hydrogen, and also a lot that we need to do to build the capability in order to play in the hydrogen space as well. And this is where internal use comes in. So it's a stepping stone for us to the export market, but also there's enormous opportunity for us internally with respect to increasing the sustainability of our operations. We currently rely heavily on imported diesel fuel, and that we just don't think that's going to be sustainable in the long term to keep importing many hundreds of thousands of litres per year of diesel. The more that we can generate internally through renewable resources, the more that we can use. We effectively, I think, can be our own customer. It's going to allow us to build the scale, get the costs down, and that should hopefully have flow-on effects beyond our own operations. And I guess more broadly, before I kind of get into the rest of the slides here, it's just really pleasing to actually see a hydrogen and mines event here in Australia. It wasn't all that long ago that attitudes to hydrogen range from apathy to hostility. And so it's really good that we're seeing that change in perception. I think we're all realising that the opportunity is real. Okay, let's push on. How quickly can anyone read? You've got 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, into the real stuff. So I joined Fortescue in January after a number of years in the R&D sector with CSIRO. So I've been on a crash course on Fortescue's operations. It's a very compelling story, one I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with, but it's one of rapid growth and disruption. Fortescue operates primarily in the Pilbara. Our first operations were in the Chichester hub. So after being founded in 2003, we had first ore on ship in 2008. We now ship 175 million tonnes per year of iron ore. That makes us the 4th biggest iron ore producer in the world. So that's an incredibly rapid growth rate that a lot of people in Fortescue, who aren't me, can take credit for. At the moment, we have 2 main mining hubs. We've got the Chichester hub and the Solomon hub in the west. That's connected by more than 600 kilometres of our own rail network into the Herb Elliott port, where we have our own 5-berth port. We also have 8 of our own very large ore carriers that carry about 250,000 tonnes per journey. So we're very vertically integrated with respect to iron ore, and of course we've grown very quickly. Just this year we've announced expansion into Alawana, into the west, and also most recently in the Iron Bridge project, which is a magnetite project in the north. Now, magnetite is a very different kind of operation to the hematite mining, very energy intensive, but delivers a very high grade product. We're reliant on mobility to a huge extent, that is getting people around our operations, getting supplies into our operations, and getting our product from our operations to the port and beyond to the customers as well. One of the most impressive statistics about Fortescue over the last number of years is our cost reduction. So Fortescue's reduced its cost from about $48 a tonne in 2012 to hovering around $12 to $13 a tonne over the last few years. So that's a pretty remarkable decrease, and allowed the company to get through the low iron ore price era of a few years ago. But it's really positioned us well for the future. Now those cost decreases have been enabled by structural improvements to the company, by increasing the efficiency of usage of our assets, and also through a heavy emphasis on autonomy, which I think when it comes to vehicles is a natural bedfellow for hydrogen as well. The one aspect of our operations that we probably haven't made significant cost decreases in is energy. We still use quite a lot of energy. We're very reliant on diesel imports, especially for the mobility aspects of our operations. So there's a heavy focus right now inside the business on an energy strategy to increase sustainability and to get costs down. My colleague Beth from Coucher will be talking tomorrow in the Energy and Mine section. She heads energy strategy, so she can give a much more detailed version than I can right now. But really there are 6 main tenets to our energy strategy. And I guess the key point I want to make here is that hydrogen isn't a standalone proposition for Fortescue. It's part of an integrated strategy around energy, especially when it comes to internal use. So there are things we can do, like obviously increase efficiency, try to replace diesel with natural gas where possible, connect our sites. Currently our mining hubs are island with respect to power generation, getting renewables into our operations. As we know, the Pilbara has a little bit of sunshine, so we should be able to get some solar in there. Useful autonomy, we have the world's largest autonomous mining truck fleet, which has delivered a significant improvements in throughput, but we think it's part of our energy strategy as well. And then of course hydrogen fits there. So it's not standalone, it's part of the bigger picture as far as we're concerned. Obviously the big applications for hydrogen we think are around mobility and around distributed power generation initially, moving into the stationary power generation later on. Now, technology is going to play a key role in us moving forward, and I guess the reason that I'm up here is because in November last year, Fortescue and CSIRO announced a 5-year partnership around hydrogen. Through this partnership, Fortescue will invest about a minimum $20 million, hopefully more, over a period of 5 years in hydrogen-related R&D with CSIRO. In the Australian Financial Review a couple of weeks ago, Larry Marshall, the CSIRO CEO on the left there, made a comment that Australia has a very middling performance when it comes to translating R&D dollars into impact. So that's a real passion of his. Since he came into CSIRO, he's really been driving that improvement in that aspect of CSIRO. That, of course, is a great passion of Fortescue's chairman and founder, Andrew Forrest, as well. So one of the main drivers for this, as well as giving CSIRO funding for R&D and giving Fortescue access to the best technology, is to really help Australia improve its translation of R&D into impact. The first investment made by Fortescue in CSIRO is around a membrane technology that's shown there in the picture. This is a technology that allows the purification of hydrogen to fuel cell grade. So for the standards nerds amongst us, that's 14687-2. I think that's the right number. I used to know it off by heart. Certainly it allows us to deliver fuel cell grade hydrogen from a range of feedstocks. One of those is ammonia, of course. There's a very strong interest in this country around ammonia as an export vector. Hopefully this technology will allow ammonia to then be used in the mobility sector in other countries. It can also be used in hydrocarbon-derived feedstocks like methane, like biofuels, for example. So over the next couple of years, Fortescue will be investing $8 million in scaling this technology to the commercial scale, demonstrating it at a couple of places. We're very open to talk to anyone in the audience around opportunities for this technology in Australia or beyond. Now this, of course, is just the first in hopefully a fairly consistent pipeline of projects out of CSIRO. These projects can be anything around the production, the transport and storage, and the end use of hydrogen. And it also includes industrial processes as well. So as an iron ore company, we see the Scope 3 emissions around the use of our product overseas as being a significant issue and something that we need to be concerned about as a company. I think there's significant potential for hydrogen in that sector as well. So I guess just before I wrap up, I just want to talk about Fortescue's broader ambition. So I've spoken already about the export opportunity. I've spoken about technology, but let's kind of, I guess, bring that all together. So as a company, Fortescue is very much on the leading edge with technologies. Our work around vehicle autonomy is a case in point. We are actively targeting any technology that allow us to generate hydrogen with low emissions, low cost, and at scale. And we're certainly not unique in wanting that. I think everyone in this room wants that. But certainly that's the initial focus for us. By getting the scale, we can get the cost down and start to accelerate that transition. when it comes to our own operations, one of the benefits that we have as a very large mining operation is that we can be our own customer. We use huge amounts of fuel, so we can actually start to generate huge amounts of hydrogen, knowing that we've got someone who wants it, which is not the case in kind of every aspect of hydrogen right now. And look, the drivers for that are around energy security, of course. It's not sustainable for us to be reliant on diesel. We're subject to, or we're kind of at the mercy of price fluctuations or any constraint in supply, which could come over the horizon. So the more hydrogen we can generate internally, the more secure our operations are. And then, of course, there's our carbon footprint. So we are naturally a very large CO2 emitter, as is the sector more broadly. So there's a lot that we are obligated to do in terms of getting our emissions down. Now, anything we do in our operations, just because of the scale, we will have a natural flow-on effect to domestic industry. So we see ourselves not just operating within our own little ecosystem in the Pilbara. We want to be actively working on domestic energy projects as well. So once again, this is a call to arms for a lot of people to come and talk to Fortescue about opportunities outside of mining. And look, it's basically, since I walked into Fortescue in January, the doorbell hasn't stopped ringing. So we want to maintain that. Please keep coming and talking to us and bringing opportunities in. We're happy to talk. So there's obviously a lot we can do domestically, but as I mentioned, there is that long-term view of us playing in the global supply chain. But we can't do that without the capability and credibility that we're going to get within our own operations. So I guess you probably all want to know what we're doing right now. I've kind of kept you in suspense for a while. And look, it's pretty early days, so let's be realistic. Our hydrogen team was formed in January this year. We've been actively surveying the operations, international and domestic opportunities as well, to try and work out what we can do. Internally, we see distributed power generation as one of the opportunities for us, because it's something that matches the scale of currently available technologies. So we plan to have one demonstration of that CSIRO technology inside our own operations associated with a remote power generation application. Any further demonstrations of that technology, they may be internally. Ideally, they might be in the target country where we actually would like to sell a renewable product. The other application for us, and this probably won't be no great shock, is around mobility. We're a huge logistics operation. We have around 1,000 light vehicles. We have about 200 heavy mining trucks as well. We think there's a massive scope in those sectors to start to introduce hydrogen mobility with on-site or within our operations, generating the hydrogen we need for those vehicles. So we actually have some work underway already, evaluating where the best opportunities are, looking at the way we use our fleet currently, and also trying to match that with currently available technologies. Unfortunately, when it comes to mining, there's very specific requirements around the vehicles. There's no off-the-shelf product we can get to right now that we can instantly put into our operations. So once again, we're actively seeking partnerships to help us develop those technologies and get them into our operations and into everybody's operations much more quickly. Okay, so that's really where I want to lead off, but I'll head off. So anyway, once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. We're incredibly excited by the great response we've got from everybody in the room around this. Fortescue wants to be a key player in this, but once again, this is around partnerships. This is not about company versus company or state versus state. This is a national opportunity. So I think if we keep that in mind, we'll all advance very quickly. So thank you very much.